Good evening. My name is Kadaria Ahmed, and this is Straight Talk. My guest is the former president of the National Association of Democratic Lawyers and also a former chairman of the West African Bar Association. He's a pro-democracy advocate and human rights campaigner renowned for providing free legal services to the poor and disadvantaged. He's been detained numerous times by the security services for his activism and has won many awards locally and internationally for his work. However, his relationships with some prominent politicians from the southwest region of the country have led some to question his impartiality. He has also been accused of sometimes undermining the rule of law by publicly questioning rulings that he disagrees with, thereby damaging the authority and credibility of the judiciary. He's a member of the ongoing national conference and recently turned down an appointment to be a member of the committee investigating the abduction of schoolgirls in Chibok, Borno State. On Straight Talk today, I am pleased to have with me a senior advocate of Nigeria, Mr. Femi Falana. Sir, welcome to Straight Talk.
Thank you very much.
Now,
my pleasure.
Let's start with perhaps what is the latest thing to happen to you in terms of your relationship with the federal government. The president named you as a member of the committee to investigate issues around the disappearance of these schoolgirls in Chibok. I understand you've turned down that appointment and you've mentioned the fact that there's something to do with a potential conflict of interest. Please explain.
Well, my services have been procured by a committee of concerned Nigerians working with the parents of the abducted girls. And one of the matters they have discussed with me is the possibility of filing an action in court to compel the government, the federal government, and of course the Borno State government to produce these children, to free them from the captivity of the Boko Haram sect, which is believed to have abducted them. The second one is that I'm also a consultant to an international human rights body that has also taken interest in ensuring the release of the girls.
Now, if we look at the legality of this whole issue, is there a place in law for ordinary citizens to prosecute a government for an abduction by a terrorist group?
Well, under the Constitution, the government has a duty to guarantee the life and property of every citizen
and they say they're trying to.
And if, from the evidence on ground, we come to the conclusion that that was not done in this case. I mean, for instance, we have already established that schools were shut down. Under what circumstances was that school reopened?
According to the information I've heard, the girls had to write exams.
Yeah.
And exams, now, because they're regional and national, couldn't be postponed.
If they were going to write exams, which is legitimate, what security was provided? Was the security provided commensurate with the threat, surrounding the place, the environment? So these are the issues that will have to be sorted out. The other point, as far as I'm concerned, and this is to be honest, it is not the business of civilians. I'm a lawyer. I'm not trained to rescue anybody who's been detained. Who has been held hostage by terrorists. That is the exclusive preserve of the armed forces. I believe that we have got to a stage in this country where government has to, on a daily basis, do radio and television, on a daily basis, have jingles to enlighten Nigerians, to educate Nigerians, to alert Nigerians of what to look out for, particularly areas where you have crowds, like bus stops, restaurants, and the rest of them, and schools, so that people can know what to do.
So outside the responsibility for providing security, you think they also have a responsibility to educate people?
Oh, yes.
Because it's a new environment, now new clients, yes, new fears.
That things are no longer the same. I mean, and all Nigerians have to be mobilized, that we have a crisis in our hands, and in the prosecuting the war on terror, everybody has to be on board. What
form should that mobilization take? Should we make the carrying of arms legal by Nigerians? Is it a question of just being aware of what is going on around you? Or is it about information? What exactly?
It's a multidimensional approach on the part of every citizen. The knowledge, the realization that we have a crisis in our hands and that nobody is safe is so fundamental. Everybody has to go home with that message that we're in trouble.
And that's the starting point.
Oh, that is the starting point. Okay. Once we come to that realization that we are dealing with a crisis situation that knows no boundary in the country, we then move from there to pressurize the government to take adequate security measures to save the life and property of every citizen. And that, of course, requires on the part of the government acquisition of the right weapons, training and retraining of our soldiers, equipping them so that we're also not sending them to the slaughter lab.